Welcome to another episode of Paranormal Perspective. I'm John Lorden, and joining me as always,
Christy Arnhart.
This is the show where we look into a paranormal topic. Christy does all the research. She keeps me out of it, and then she presents it to me here live in front of a studio audience. We put a question to them about, is this topic really paranormal or not? Christy's trying to convince me that it is, which is not an impossible task, but it can be tough.
No.
Yeah, it's not impossible. Yeah. And we hear from the audience what they think. And of course, you can tell us what you think in the description or in the comments down below as well. Christy, what are we talking about today?
Well, today we're going to be talking about Dybbuks and the Dybbuk box.
Dybbuks?
Yes.
It sounds like a 1980s arcade game or something. Dybbuks. Threw all my quarters in Dybbuks.
They're dark, but it's not that innocent, believe me.
Oh, okay.
Wouldn't be on here if it was, right?
I guess not. Do you want to give some description first, or do you know what the question for the audience is?
Well, okay, here's the question.
Okay.
But I think everyone will want to listen through before they actually make their vote.
Yeah, I won't drop it yet.
Okay. So, do you believe Dybbuks really possess people?
Okay. Did Dybbuks possess people? And did this come in as a suggestion? Do I remember that right?
It did.
Okay.
It did come in. There was a comment on last week's Paranormal Perspective, and someone had requested it.
That's right. That's right. Okay.
So thank you very much, because this stuff's always interesting to look into, regardless of what it is.
Absolutely. And we also have an email address in the description box below you can hit. It's Christy@lordenarts.com. You can send suggestions right into the show that way.
Please do.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm spelling it right, but I've got some form of Dybbuks ready for the question in the poll. Tell us about this story, Christy.
Okay. Well, everybody knows the most popular version of this story, which started actually in 2003. A man named Kevin Manus, who is a professional writer and recording artist, purchased a wine box from an estate sale in Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
Then he fixed the box up to fit his narrative of what it was.
What do you mean fix the box up?
Well, it started out originally as just a little wine cabinet, something you could put your wine in, your glasses in.
Okay.
But he actually took this box and added, in the back, there's a carving of a Jewish symbol back there. He put in a 1928 U.S. wheat penny, a 1925 U.S. wheat penny, one small lock of blonde hair, one small lock of black or brown hair, a granite statue engraved and gilded with the Hebrew word shalom, one dried out rosebud, one golden goblet, and a very odd black candlestick. The legs on it looked like an octopus. So supposedly, this is what he told everybody on eBay when he fixed the box up and then auctioned it back off to start his own urban legend. And trust me, here we are 20 years later, a little more than that, and it's still going. So the eBay description for this box included a story saying that it was previously owned by a Holocaust survivor. And she had told everybody to never open it, that a malicious spirit called a Dybbuk was contained inside.
Okay.
This guy, Kevin, says, I started having nightmares. I started hearing things around my house. I got sick. I lost all my hair. It was just ridiculous, everything that happened while I owned this box. So he ends up putting it on eBay and selling it, and it sold several times through the years, with everybody continuing this legend. One guy even started a website called Dybbukbox.com, and that really cemented it into internet lore.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, it's now you have, with every passing of it, people are probably getting some of the facts wrong in the original one, embellishing facts in the new post or the new discussion of it. And now you have a guy that's literally just running with, but it seems fictional, right? Like we're talking about something that was...
Yeah, it's totally a hoax.
Okay.
The Dybbuk box is totally a hoax. Manus sold the rights to his story, and in 2012, Sam Raimi made the possession. It was supposed to be based on his experiences, but I'm sure the rest of us recognize it from the Dybbuk that came out in 2022, I think.
Okay. Okay.
That's settles more in with the story. You've got a husband and wife. The wife buys the box and they open it and all this stuff starts to happen.
Gotcha. Oh, goodness. Look, we
Free
have
Chloe.
a free Chloe shirt up on. I don't think that's correct. Here, let's fix it. There we go. Okay, so
Yes.
this is the
This
box.
is the Dybbuk box
Okay.
with all the little things in there that, I named off.
Yeah.
It looks unassuming, but like with the hair and stuff in it, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's pretty. I mean, your description was spot on. Like it's very literal. Like you can tell what it is. You can tell that it's some kind of little small liquor or wine cabinet. And it's just got stuff that's been put into it. So it's kind of interesting to me. Oh, goodness. Just
Is
when
it Chloe?
When I show her on screen, all of a sudden we hear her. Chloe is now in the studio. That's okay. Okay.
Well, this box, of course, was eventually given to Zach Bagans to put in his museum. I mean, where else would it go?
Of course. Of course.
He claimed all kinds of trouble with it. Post Malone came and visited the museum and touched the box, and he said he had a ton of bad luck off of this.
Really?
It's like they all forgot it's a hoax, right?
Well, the bad luck might have come from him going to visit something that Zach Bagans put together, is what I'm thinking. I don't think it was about the box necessarily.
It's just Zach.
It's just Zach. I mean, we know Zach has terrible. If I was to pick one person on this entire planet and say this person just has really, really bad luck, I would think it's Zach. And from a few different points. First of all, he keeps going on these things where he's ghost hunting, and he's being attacked by ghosts all the time. They're wrecking his health. The guy has to wear a respirator because he's going to die. Like from that point of view alone. Outside of that, then you have him searching for proving that the paranormal exists for decades now. And, is there some stuff that's kind of compelling that he ran into along the way? Yeah, but it's still not the holy grail in terms of, modern popular culture has now recognized we can't dispute this anymore, which I think is kind of the goal when it comes to the paranormal stuff. But yeah, so Post Malone got bad luck from visiting Zach's museum, I think. I don't know if it was the Dybbuks in particular.
Well, and keep in mind, guys, this is just an overview of the story. Look it up. So many people bought it, so many stories, and every person who added their experiences just expanded. I think of it as a creepypasta, honestly.
Okay. Now, there's something that's hitting me about this, though, and it's strange for me to throw the conversation in this direction. But I seem to remember an episode we did where it was a seance, and the people were having a seance for a fictional character. And there was some question about just their will in trying to do that. Could it have brought some form of spirit into existence? So
thought forms, yeah.
Yeah, when you have strong beliefs, and if they're being really focused on an object of this nature, is there something that could potentially happen where there's some energy from those thought forms that have some level of transference into that object in some way?
Yes, absolutely.
Just a question.
That was a very good point. Yeah, no, that's a very good point. Anytime you've got this much belief going into something, it manifests something. I'm not saying you're going to get a full-blown demon in the box, but it does manifest in its own way.
Yeah.
But Manus did say, make no mistake, I conceived the Dybbuk box, the name, the term, the idea, and wrote this creative story around it to post on eBay. So as cool as it is, originally there was no demon in there. There might be now.
Okay.
I don't know, but there's not.
Do you know how much he made on that? On selling it? I'm just curious.
No, I don't.
Okay.
And that's another good question.
Yeah, I'm just curious because if it was like, he went to a yard sale or he went to, a thrift store and kind of picked up the box for $5 and then found the 10 cheapest items that he could find in the thrift store. Like he might have put that whole thing, this thing could have been put together for less than $10. I would assume. Well, yeah, and less.
he did get it at an estate sale.
Okay. So I'm just curious how much he would have flipped that for by kind of creating this story and this lore to go along with it.
I don't know. And I'm not seeing I'm not seeing just through a Google search how much
Okay.
it was.
Well, if I'm going to do a little search on that too. If I
Do it.
happen to find it, I'll bring it up on screen right now so you guys can see exactly how much the original sale was. So, okay. Or also, we've got our live audience here. If you guys happen to have a little spare time that you can spend right now, do a search on that and see if you could find it for us. The original sale price of the Dybbuk box. Okay. Christy, what's this other picture that we have here? What is this?
This is an illustration of a Dybbuk, because even though the box is not real, the creature, the Dybbuk itself, is real.
So this looks like a man that is essentially carrying a corpse on his back, a skeletonized corpse on his back. Which one is it him?
Well,
is he the
yeah,
Dybbuk?
the skeleton on his back is the Dybbuk.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The Jewish Virtual Library says that in Jewish folklore and popular belief, a Dybbuk is an evil spirit that enters into a living person, cleaves to his soul, clings to it, causes mental illness, talks through his mouth, and represents a separate and alien personality called a Dybbuk.
Wow.
So it sounds a lot like demon possession, and the Dybbuk is the demon. Basically, what you've got is a Jewish person who has died, and they have sins on their soul that they didn't resolve.
Mm-hmm.
A demon will capture their ghost and shove it into a human being, just somebody. And then they're able to manipulate that person, talk through them, all that stuff, because of the ghost that's riding them, which has now become a Dybbuk.
Got it.
So let me see here. Before the 16th and 17th century, you wouldn't hear the term Dybbuk. You wouldn't use it. You would actually say possessed rather than, a Dybbuk. Oh, no, it's a demon. No, it was simpler back then. 16th and 17th century is when these creatures actually came more to the fore and people started talking about them.
Okay. The audience is kicking in. They have found the price.
Oh, how much?
$280. Several of them confirming that. And
yeah, I thought it was somewhere around 200.
Yeah. More interestingly, we have Felicity saying, "I am the original Dybbuk's box." So the original box is also here in the chat, just so we know.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
$280
$280 for $10 of stuff that I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I mean, he bought for nothing somewhere, spun up a story on it, and sold it. Not bad.
He did such an incredible job with that Dybbuk box. He really did. Because at one point he said, I'll pay anybody $100,000 if they can find anything about a Dybbuk box before I put mine up on eBay. There's nothing in the literature. The box. That's one of the reasons why I don't have pictures or video today. Because everything that you find online are, I'm opening my Dybbuk box that I bought. And I'm like, dude, they're not real.
That's interesting he's saying that, though, because he's kind of making a point. Like, he basically owns the copyright on that idea. Mm-hmm. Because he's admitting it's a creative work. He's admitting that he made it up. And he's saying that's why he's put that offer out. Find anyone that has said this before and I'll pay them. I'm pretty sure that was him positioning for these movie versions that were coming about this stuff for him to get paid, because it is his creative work is what he's saying.
And he did such a good job.
Yeah.
The best creepypasta is always simple in the beginning, and then it gets more and more intricate. I just love it.
Fred Crook says he has a Dybbuk's box and it's named Earl. So
okay,
yeah,
that's good.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that, actually. I believe that one. Okay, now what do you do when you're possessed? Whether it's a demon, a Dybbuk, whatever it is, you go to your spiritual leader. So if you're possessed by a Dybbuk, you go to the rabbi. And I should also mention, and I shouldn't laugh, the original folklore, when a Dybbuk enters a body, it's most often a woman, and the demon has shoved a male spirit into her through her vagina.
Oh, geez.
So
How many of these stories do we see this trend over and over? And no, I also wanted to touch on the description that you gave earlier about that. Also sounds like a mental disorder or someone dealing
Yes.
with some type of schizophrenia or something like that. So,
Well, and demon possession in general does.
yeah, yeah,
Even the synagogues, the leaders will go through and make sure that mental illness is not involved
yeah.
before they go through an exorcism. And let me tell you, they've set the bar on an exorcism. The Catholics have nothing on the Jewish people now, let me tell you.
Wow.
Ooh, so the exorcism takes place more often than not in a synagogue.
Mm-hmm.
Now, according to the JC.com, it takes place in the synagogue. You've got 10 men dressed in funeral shrouds, white funeral shrouds, who fasted and purified themselves with rituals. They also wear their prayer shawls, and their head and arms are bound with sacred parchments that are worn during daily prayer. Now, the exorcist would then begin to trash talk the Dybbuk, listing all of its failings. Just basically, you're a piece of crap. You don't deserve to be in this person. You're dead. You need to get out of there.
Yeah, similar to an exorcism, like a Catholic exorcism. Yeah.
Then they open the ark in the synagogue, which contains the scrolls of the Torah, and open them up. 7 scrolls are removed. 7 blasts were blown on 7 ram's horns, and 7 black candles are lit. Curses are proclaimed, incantations are recited, and 7 different combinations of the 42-letter name of God are recited as well. Now, the spirit, when it leaves, it doesn't always happen the first time, just like demon possession. When it does leave, the Dybbuk has to leave between your big toe and its nail. So just, a little bit underneath it.
Wow. Okay.
If they don't exit that way, they can cause permanent damage to the body that they were in. And then they tell it. They said, you've got to go to your next life, get out of here, whatever you're going to do, because we don't need the dead in the world of the living. And there are so many stories that you can find online, not recent, old stories of people being exorcised and having to go through all of this to get rid of their Dybbuk. And like I said, this belief still persists today. It fell out of favor in the 20th century. And then in the 21st, of course, it came back in. We have movies. I mean, even on What We Do in the Shadows, they've got a Dybbuk that drops in from time to time, and it's hilarious. But they also, like I said, they will go through, they will make sure that no mental illness is involved, because DID, dissociative identity disorder, looks a lot like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, again, it's just like Catholicism. Comes down to belief in the very end.
So, Christy, what we have here is pretty interesting in terms of, we have this guy that creates this Dybbuk's box that he admits never existed before and is something he did to effectively sell an item on eBay, and was a pretty good idea apparently, because he made $280. But he started the story with something that was actually legit, right? Pointing back to the Dybbuks and the religion in Judaism. So there's this question that we've kind of put to the audience of, did Dybbuks actually possess people? Really isn't necessarily about the box. It's actually more about the history that led him to create the box.
Keep in mind, the box is a hoax. It's an incredible creepypasta that this guy came up with. Yeah. And my hat's off to him. Oh my gosh, it's such a good story. Yeah, definitely look into it.
For it to continue, and its story's still continuing. Now it's in a museum owned by Zach Baggins, and now it's given Post Malone bad luck, and the story's continuing. Did it hit our audience the right way for them to think this was a paranormal occurrence? 63% said no, they don't think it did. And I think it's running into a thing that we've seen with stories of this nature before, where certain cultures were trying to build some explanation around something that they were noticing and didn't know how to explain it otherwise.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, oh, my wife starts acting up, and when she yells at me, she sounds like a man. It must be that a man crawled inside of her and is taking control of her body. Like it just seems to be one of those things that came from that
through her vagina. Let's not forget that.
Yeah. And
again, that goes back to purity and impurity and things like that.
Yeah. Trends we've seen in this show quite a bit.
But there's always that sliver of truth. I think some people are possessed.
Could be. But according to this audience...
Ugh, the sheet.
The sheet. You have to watch the sheet again. It never gets old, does it? Never gets old.
Don't worry. Don't worry. The rest of us are sitting out here without Dybbuks clinging to our souls. What about you guys?
Goodness. Christy, thank you so much for your hard work on today's episode. We always appreciate it. We always have a fun time here, and that's what it's about, on top of trying to convince me about the paranormal. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Please come back next week, and we will do this all again on Paranormal Perspective. We'll catch you on the other side.